Well, today's New Year's Eve. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. But this video will probably come out maybe later this afternoon or tomorrow. Who knows? Um, yesterday, or yeah, about yesterday, I was mostly looking at just straight up Ford performance vehicles, and this is like not including any sort of F-150, Mustang, Ford GT, whatever. I think this is more of like a performance vehicles from Ford that no one ever really knows about. Like no one knows. Most people don't even know that they exist. And if they do, they don't know what they have underneath that hood right now. Like I think some older ones I'll start off with. Um the Ford Flex and the Ford Taurus SHO. Right? I think the Taurus SHO might be harder to find, especially the more modern day versions. So they might be pretty hard to find. But both of them have one thing. If you get the specific version of the Flex as well, right? Because these versions are both all-wheel drive, which is pretty great, pretty cool, right? They're all-wheel drive and they use the 3.5 what do you call it? 3.5 EcoBoost, which is twin turbos, which obviously some people love them, some people hate them. It is what it is, you know. I'm just going off of what is out there with them, right? What those cars have to offer. I'm like, I'll get to whatever pros and cons they have at the moment, but they do have a twin turbo V6, both of them. I'm like, okay, and they're all-wheel drive, both of them with that engine. And normally they're paired with a six-speed auto. I don't believe it's a 6R80, right? I think it's whatever six-speed that they had to come up with. But I think, what do you call it? The nice thing about them, right, is obviously since they're all-wheel drive, they pull like a freight train. Like from the get-go, they go, right? And it doesn't take much RPMs, right? Maybe in the like low-end torque is exceptional on that car, on both of those cars. And they're pretty stout from everything I've read. They're pretty good. The only bit, and this is a big one for any of them, the water pump is a pretty big weakness in that car, right? Like they have they're internal. The water pumps are internal, and they're driven by the timing chain, which I'm like, yeah, that kind of sucks because you won't really know what the heck is going on, right? I'm like, and obviously people like they'll get their water pumps replaced, and they'll see it like leak on the driveway or anything of that matter. Not this car, right? Since it's internal, the only place that this thing will leak into more than likely will be your oil pan, and that engine is toast when that happens. So that's the one big red flag on that engine. Like everything else is like it's got forged connecting rods, all the good stuff. I'm like, this is great, right? But you have to throw in the one big thing. It's an internal water pump, which will leak straight into the oil pan. I'm like, why is it there? Right? Let's see if I can make it. The the one big thing, right, is for that car, and I think it can be probably from the car that I'll be talking about. I think that car can probably be one of the best, or if not the best, sleeper of the bunch, right? Like, at least if it gets fixed. The only thing I would say is literally, if the water pump has been replaced, this thing's got all the potential in the world to become one of the best sleepers you're ever going to see. I think that one you don't even have to wait. I think after a certain amount of time or mileage, I would just say just either replace it, or if you don't want to do it, get it replaced, right? That might be an expensive job, yes, because it's inside. So engine might have to come out, maybe, or just it's going to be an expensive fix or job, or a long fix if you're doing it yourself. Um, and obviously, the only other one I could say for to really tone in on those cars, and I think this could be the case for any of them, but for sure on those older Tauruses and Flexes, is its PTU, which is it's the brain of the all-wheel drive system. I would say, like, Ford says it's supposed to be lifetime fluid. Do not listen to that. No fluid is lifetime. Okay. And say lifetime fluid is what? The lifetime of the car? No. Okay. Get it serviced probably every 20 to 25,000 miles. That's like key, because that thing, like I said, it's the brain of this whole all-wheel drive system. It needs something to cool itself off and to just work. So please, that's the only other one I would say to really focus in on and actually do services. Like, obviously service everything, right? But I don't think anyone ever tries to service the PTU specifically. Like, service everything, oils, transmission, whatever, right? Do all of them. But really make sure you get that one down too. That one's probably the second most often thing you're ever going to do. It's probably going to go, in terms of frequency of maintenance, probably oil changes, obviously, for any car is going to be your best priority, because that one's every 5,000. Then your PTU for that car specifically, and then transmission. Transmission probably every 30. 30 would be a good range. And so unless you're doing a lot of highway, then maybe 50. I'll give it that. But if you're just in city, 30. Next car I would say is actually, which seems to be another car that no one ever knows about either, right? Is Ford Fusions. Specifically the Ford Fusion Sport. It's from 2017 to 2019. Short span, but it has the 2.7 EcoBoost, right? And you wouldn't ever think that, a Ford Fusion would have literally a twin turbo setup, by the way. Twin turbo Ford Fusion. I'm like, who in the world thought of that? Right? Now, this Ford Fusion is an all-wheel drive Ford Fusion. I'm like, damn, dude, this is insane. And a Ford Fusion with a V6. Most Ford Fusions have an inline four, right? They're supposed to be some economical vehicles, but this one has literally the smallest F-150 V engine that they have, and I threw it in the Fusion. I'm like, okay. And yes, it makes 325 horsepower, 380 foot-pounds of torque, right? So that's actually more torque than what the Flex and Taurus could do. It's Taurus and Flexes with their twin turbo variants make 365 on power, and they make 350 pounds of torque. So there's a slight trade-off right there, right? The Fusions make a tremendous amount of torque for being such a small car. Now, it is a heavy car, right? I say it is a heavy car. They're still 4,000 pounds, but I guess that all-wheel drive system does help it out a bit, right? Fusion could be the most reliable of the bunch. All right, maybe obviously all of them have their little flaws. Like, the biggest one for the Fusions is there's two big problems, I would say, with the Fusions. Is one of them is, how do I word it? It likes the heat soak. There you go. That's the word. Thermal management. And I say after a couple, the only thing that sucks about that car is that like after if you try to do a couple of hard pulls, the car heat soaks, right? Its intercooler is quite small for what the setup that it has, right? I think they were doing it just for space savings at this point, try to throw into this car as much as they could. But the intercooler is tiny. All right, I would say like if you want to really try to push this car to its limits, and you like doing that type of thing where you're just a spirited driver over and over again, probably upgrade the intercooler more likely because it'll have its tendency to heat soak. So I think upgrade the intercooler to something much more performance like to actually help it out a little bit at least. I mean, especially for me here, I live in Arizona, so that one is probably a must for me at this point. And the only other one I would say is oil leaks. But I feel like that could be a case for any car, but yes, the Fusions have their I guess one of the big flaws of oil leaks because they have plastic oil pans. The plastic oil pans from I think any of these brands. I'm not going to say just Ford, but I know for Ford to look for the plastic oil pans. Eventually, at a certain point, they just start leaking, right? And that's what they have. So, I think I'm pretty sure there is a conversion where you can put a metal oil pan back on the car, but just for a fair warning, yes, it does have a plastic oil pan and it has its own tendencies to leak oil. So it's that, and just your thermal management is a little bit okay, pretty much. It's okay for regular driving, not okay for spirited driving. It just heat soaks and that sucks, right? And the car will pull its timing, and you'll feel the car become slower because the computer will try to pull the timing and try to pretty much save the engine as its main goal. So that's about the only real things on the Fusion to really look out for. So the other car I would say that also uses a 2.7, right? Now remember, the Fusion makes 325, so the Ford Edge STs, instead of STs, which I don't think anyone ever knew that existed. But STs for the Edges have a 8-speed automatic, which is, I would say, a fairly rare occurrence for Fords because I don't see very many Fords with an 8-speed. They usually just want to jump from a 6-speed all the way down, all the way up to 10. So this one is a interesting occurrence. But yeah, 8-speed automatics on the Ford Edge STs. So they also use a 2.7. Same thing, but the power is only a touch higher, 335 horsepower. Torque is both 380 on that and the Fusion. So literally a touch better on the power than what the Edge can do. But, and yes, the Edge is slightly heavier, but I think it being a all-wheel drive, again, I think most of these cars, all these cars I'm talking about are all all-wheel drive. The Edge is all-wheel drive, and I think the 8-speed will make that car feel lighter than it actually is. Which is nice, right? The car, it has some get up and go. It's going to make this car feel alive. And they improved heavily on that one, right? They improved a lot for the Edge. Like, I think especially from a factory cooling standard, the thing actually has quite good cooling. Just does. Radiator is much thicker. The thermal management for everything else is actually quite good. It's quite good. Compared to what the Fusion had, it is actually quite good. I think the only big thing, obviously, besides you're doing your regular things, especially servicing your, obviously, engine transmission, right? Transmission's key. This one has a similar thing to the Flexes and the Tauruses. There's a PTU unit. Service that every 20K. Again, that's pretty important for that car. But that one, a lot of people tend to forget that that's even there. So, I would say servicing that, just to really extend the longevity of this car, is really going to help. Like, you just need to do that. But 2.7 turbo, it's going to do whatever it needs to do, but Don's probably actually your best in the group, probably the best daily driver. It's got the best of everything, as they pretty much improved on everything to kind of keep the car on its best operating temp without itself overheating or doing anything. They try to give that thing the best factory cooling that they could do without overpricing the car either, right? Trying to keep it from a street level, but it does have an exceptional cooling system. Again, like, the whole 335 horsepower might not seem a lot to people, but for a little street driven car, that might be enough for a fun time, especially for that car. The last one, probably the Ford Explorer STs, which I think that's probably the one that most people do know about. Right, Explorer STs have the highest horsepower output of the bunch, and this one, the Explorers probably have the highest ceiling for power between the cars, right? Already from the get, Explorer uses a completely different engine, uses a 3-liter EcoBoost twin turbo engine, right? And it has 400 horsepower from the rip, right? 415 foot-pounds of torque, all-wheel drive, all that stuff. This car is a 10 speed automatic, so this one has pretty much your best performance combo of them all. High horsepower, probably one of the quickest transmissions that's ever been seen. Now, the only big one for that car, and that car has pretty much everything that you really need. The cooling, everything. This one got pretty much everything that happened beforehand between the Fusions, Explorers, Edges, Taurus, etc. I think everything that happened with those cars, they pretty much tried to really tone it down and give the Explorer everything that was wrong with any of those, right? It gave the cooling systems, internal water pump is, I'm pretty sure it's gone on the 3-liter. It's not internal anymore. 10R80 or 10R6, I don't know. 10 speed from Ford. I don't think it has a 10R80. It still has a PTO unit. You got to do your differential services. Recommend that extremely. The only thing I think that would be a big one is for the rear diff. There's a mounting bolt that if you do some hard pulls, it has a big flaw on that one, where that bolt has, if you do a hard launch, that bolt that rear diff, the rear one, may snap. So I would say, like, the only real big upgrade right away, and especially if you like trying to drive fast and do all this stuff, the only big one I would say to really get right away is to get a differential brace for that rear one, right? If you can get a brace to kind of help that thing out from not snapping, that'd help that car a lot, because the 415 foot-pounds of torque, that's a lot, okay? I don't care what anyone says, that is a lot. At a certain point, there's certain mechanical things that you're putting so much stress under, and you're putting them, like, the amount of load, we don't really know what they can handle. But that's the point of pushing the limits. Performance guys will push these limits to see what these factory items can do. Some of them won't. Some of them will just replace them right away. So, but yeah, I think the Explorer pretty much had everything set up where it has any flaw, anything wrong that came with the Fusions, the Flexes, Edge, Taurus, anything wrong that was with those cars, they tried to pretty much minimize any of those flaws and throw it as perfect as they possibly could into this Explorer. Now, the only thing I can say between the four, I'll say this: your most reliable possible options are probably between both the 2.7s, between the Fusion and the Edge. I think in general, I think the Edge will probably be your best daily, right? And it'll probably be the best daily of the bunch because it's got a quick enough transmission to kind of get up and go. Torque and power is relatively similar to the Fusions anyway. It's literally a 10 horsepower bump. You won't really feel much of a difference there. That 8-speed will help you out to make the car feel faster and feel lighter than it is. The biggest sleeper, obviously, I think if that water pump is changed, the Fusion and the Taurus and the Flex, because no one knows those things even exist, especially the Flex. I don't think many people even know that there was a twin turbo Flex. So yes, that one could be an interesting one right there. I think now highest ceiling for power would have to be the Explorer. That one probably has the highest ceiling overall, just because it's got everything that you need. It's got the cooling efficiency, it's got the power down already off the rip, and you can go beyond that. Got everything set up. Once you get that brace in, this car is set to go. But you go ahead and decide which one you want. I'm just stating my opinion on some cars that most people don't even think exist or didn't know existed. So some of them are probably relatively cheap too. So yeah, but that's just a little bit of other cars from Ford besides, you know, the regulars, like all these Whipple Mustangs or just regular Mustangs or these sleeper F-150s. Like they've got more performance cars than just those, right? They've got some other cars too. And besides, even like the Focuses, you have the Focus RSs, like they have more cars than like those three, right? You've got all these actual like sedans and other SUVs that no one even knew probably existed. So you go ahead and look into that. I'm about to head to work. You all have a great day. I'm out.